Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Rachel Bouzaid. I'm a Vedic counselor and astrologer, and today we are going to be looking at Princess Diana's Vedic birth chart. This is Jyotish, the science of light. It is different than Western astrology and uses the moon as the focal point of the calendar, and it also follows transits in real time based on where they actually are in the sky. So I had a request for Princess Diana's chart. I do apologize for those of you looking for more birth charts lately. Just feeling very personally disillusioned by most famous people these days. But it's still a really great way for us to understand what charts reveal and all the just so many things we can see that there's no amount of time. I could break it all down for you, but I am going to give you a basic kind of reading of her D1 birth chart today. So this is the big chart in the middle here, her D1. This is going to be her physical reality. And because she died so early in life, it is going to be just the main focus of her life. Otherwise, I'd love to look at her D9, which is more of her potential chart and kicks in especially after 40 years old. But I just think for these videos, sticking to the D1 is most helpful. So, Diana was born on July 1st, 1961, 1945 in the United Kingdom. We have it all pulled up. The birth time is official. Don't have to worry about that. So right away, we're looking at her chart. Again, this is a North Indian chart, and it goes counterclockwise. So there's going to be a total of 12 houses in a birth chart, each represented by the zodiac sign. So the natural placement of each house would be 1 through 12. So Aries is the first zodiac sign. So the natural first house is Aries. So you want to, just to help you think of it. So the first house is your sense of self, your physical body. It's the lens that you start and see your life from. It's your personality. So that's always where we want to start from when we're looking at a birth chart. For Princess Diana, you see the number 8 here. That's telling us the sign. She is a Scorpio rising. 8 is Scorpio. We also say ascendant in Jyotish instead of rising sign. So she is a Scorpio ascendant, and it's in her Lagna is her rising, and it's in Jyeshta Nakshatra. In Jyotish, we also have lunar mansions. There are 3 in each zodiac sign, which tell us the pattern, the emotional patterns of the psyche of a person. And they really distinguish and create quite a more unique, in-depth reading of someone's birth chart. So Jyeshta is a nakshatra fully in Scorpio. It's at the very end of Scorpio before the changes to Sagittarius. And Jyeshta is ruled by Mercury. So Scorpio is ruled by Mars. First of all, Scorpio is a water sign ruled by Mars, making it ruled by a fire sign. Scorpio ascendants are always going to have a very transformative life because they are very deep emotionally, as they are a water sign, but they are ruled by Mars, which is passion, anger, defense, boundary planet. Scorpio risings want control over their emotions, and they tend to wear quite an armor around their vulnerability so that others cannot see them. this way. Jyeshta takes it a bit further because it is a nakshatra that is very concerned with being the senior or the chief. It always wants to be in control. Its fear is losing control, and it can be quite dominant at times and jealous. But its fear is vulnerability, and it thinks that control will keep them safe. On the positive side, Jyeshta has an amazing ability to protect and to lead and to keep people safe. So we want to look at the ruler of her lagna, her lagnesha, which is Mars. Mars rules Scorpio. So where is Mars in her chart? Mars is here in her 10th house, and we already see there's quite a stellium here. So Mars is going to be very important. This is the ruler of her sense of self. So this is her lagnesha. So it's not just going to show up as Mars for her. This is her sense of self. So anything conjunct or with Mars, aspecting Mars, is going to have a very big impact on her sense of self. So it's in Magha in Leo. Magha is a nakshatra that is connected to ancestors, lineage, throne, royal families. It is ruled by Ketu, and the Leo is ruled by Sun. So you're merging Ketu and Leo. Ketu is the south karmic node that is here to detach us from things for our own liberation. So the lesson of Magha is to lead without ego. But Magha tends to have a very high sense of entitlement. They feel naturally like they are owed because there is this royal blood, ancestral pride. So Mars also represents what she's here to protect and defend. So it's in the 10th house. The 10th house is our career, but it's our public reputation. It is external. It is all about what others see, your reputation and who you are on the outside. Whereas the 4th house is the opposite. It's our internal emotions, our internal happiness, our emotional peace, our emotional safety. It's also a moksha house. Houses 1, 4, 7, and 10 are called Kendra houses in Jyotish. These are power houses. When you have a high concentration, which she does, of planets in Kendra houses, this is someone who is going to get things done. Okay? She's actionable life. Mars is in full planetary strength in the 10th house, called Digbala. It's the Sanskrit term. So it does very well if supported by the rest of her chart. Mars is here with Rahu. Rahu is the north karmic node. It's the forward moving karma in our charts. You always want to know where Rahu and Ketu are in your chart, as the karmic nodes are very, very important and are just going to keep forcing you to live out certain situations so that you reach a certain goal or purpose that is being asked of you. Rahu is also important because it is her soul planet. Rahu, even though it's a shadow planet, it does work as being as a soul planet, even though some astrologers don't follow that. It works. A lot of my teachers use it. I use it. It can be so Rahu and Ketu are the nodes that move backwards, like retrograde planets, okay? So because the soul planet has to be the planet of the highest degree in the chart, Rahu is her soul planet because the highest degree planet is Sun, and it's only at 16 degrees. a sign spans 0 to 30 degrees. So when Rahu is at a low degree, like hers is at 4 degrees, and the sun, her highest planet, is only at 16 out of 30, you want to subtract 30 minus 4 degrees and 51 minutes. And if it's higher than, for her, in her case, the sun at 16 degrees, then Rahu is the soul planet. So, right, Rahu 30 minus 451 is going to be like 25 degrees and something minutes. That's going to be higher than her sun at 16 degrees, 20 minutes. So Rahu is her soul planet. Now, why is that significant? The soul planet is really important to understand someone's purpose, what they're trying, and what they have to fulfill and master, what they're here to do. So Rahu is, right, it's the planet that always wants more. It's going to amplify the planets that it's with and bring illusions, disruption, sometimes chaos, obstacles, problems for you to overcome. It wants and desires to master the 10th house in Magha in Leo. Now you're fusing it with her Mars, which isn't just her action planet, willpower planet, and boundary planet. It's also her Lagnesha. So this is so important. Her soul planet is conjunct her Lagnesha, fusing her purpose even more to the 10th house of Magha, of the lineage, of the throne, and the ancestors. However, she's not here to play ball with them. Rahu is the disruptor. It is here to break taboos, to be innovative, and to break social norms. That is exactly what she did when she became part of the royal family, when she married King Charles at the time. Right? We all know that Princess Diana started so many controversies, even her death to this day. No one knows the truth. There's so many stories coming out. She was actively bringing truth to illusions in the royal family and breaking a lot of their norms. She was the disruptor. That is exactly what she was meant to do. It is also with her Uranus and her Pluto here. Pluto is really powerful. It's an outer planet, but it's still very important in the chart. It represents death, transformation, and power struggles. So her Mars is honestly so lit up. Pluto is giving it extra power and showing a lot of control issues. Rahu is here. Rahu and Mars together is just amplified. Sometimes action, aggression, anger. It depends on the person. Uranus is the outer planet of shocks, of, it's kind of like the lightning bolt that strikes, and it just creates a lot of shocks. It's also very innovative. People with Uranus in this type of placement is someone who's going to create a lot of kind of revelations and be very innovative as well. So it's just a loaded 10th house, and every one of these planets are in Magha. So she has a very big purpose here with this royal family, with this ancestral bloodline. So, right, this really checks out. So her fourth house here, let's just look at the opposing house. So K2 and Rahu are always going to be opposing each other. So opposing also means 7 houses away. It's a direct aspect. However, Rahu and K2 do not directly aspect each other. Okay? We're not going to read a chart like that. That's just so confusing. So like I said, her fourth house is her emotional safety, her internal happiness, her emotional home within herself. Her moon is going to be her very important placement. It's your emotions, it's your feelings, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your life, how you process what happens to you, your subconscious. It's your mother. Also, the moon and the sun is the father. The moon has full planetary strength in the fourth house, Digbala. However, is it really that strong? Her natal Ketu, the planet of severing, detachment, and disillusionment, showing past life mastery and something that she's not interested in mastering because she already mastered it before, is tightly conjunct her moon. Her moon is at 1 degree, 43 minutes, and her Ketu is at 4 degrees, 51 minutes, Dhanishta Aquarius. This is going to show someone who feels like they've never had a home, feels emotionally disconnected from the mother. There is something unfulfilling about the mother relationship. There could be an emotional void. That's what Ketu does. There could also feel like she never found peace at home, in her home life, in her family. That checks out. Princess Diana's parents divorced when she was really young, and she always talks about how hard it was and just emotionally turbulent it was, and she has issues with her mother. What is also there, if you see, is an AL. That is the Aruda Lagna. The Aruda Lagna is what the rest of the world thinks you are. It's what others see. I find this interesting because it's in Aquarius, but it's in Purva Bhadrapada. Purva Bhadrapada is a nakshatra within Aquarius and the beginning of Pisces, and it's represented by the goat that's one-legged, and it's like they feel like they never have 2 feet on the ground, so it's very root chakra based. Lacking grounding. And it's in her fourth house with her moon and Ketu. The rest of the world saw her as someone who never found her footing. We watched as she struggled to ground herself in her home. Emotional peace eluded her. Aquarius in itself is ruled by Saturn, but the secondary ruler is Rahu. That's why Aquarius is unlike Capricorn, that's also ruled by Saturn, and it's more innovative. So she's also very focused on, she feels safe, her moon, when she finds emotional safety when she has a rhythm in her home life, a structure, and she belongs to a collective or a group. Okay, so that probably really didn't happen for her with Ketu there. Also, Mars is directly opposing her moon. That can create, we've seen kind of relationship karma because 7 represents the 7th house of the marriage, the spouse. Rahu would be opposing her moon, right? So emotionally, this is a very tough chart. Her Venus is also very important. It's a Malavaya yoga. So when a planet is in its own sign or exalted in a Kendra house, which is 1, 4, 7, and 10, it creates a Mahaparusha yoga, or a yoga of great men. When Venus is in its own sign or exaltation sign, so Venus is here in Taurus, it rules Taurus, it's in her 7th house of spouse, but it's a Kendra house. This is going to give her a luxurious life, a wealthy life, okay, which we did see for her. I'm not seeing any harsh aspects either to her Venus. It's also directly opposing or aspecting her Lagna, her rising. So that is giving her beauty and grace to her physical body as well. So something about, you know, her is, yes, she was wealthy, right? She had plenty of money and lived a luxurious life as a princess and even after their divorce. But she spoke with elegance and grace. I mean, she was beautiful. So that is what Venus there as a Mahapurusha Yoga is bringing for her. She was just, you know, very diplomatic, you know, seen as someone who had harmonious, you know, dealings with people. She spoke well. She was beautiful, right? She dressed beautifully. So her Venus is also her spouse planet. So I always look at two planets when it comes to the spouse and the soul planet. I find are the most important, other than the regular planets. The spouse planet is the planet at the lowest degrees in the chart. So see, her Venus is only at 1 degree and 4 minutes. This is going to be her spouse planet. So she is looking for a spouse with Venusian energy. Her Venus is Mula Trikna. That's why it's a Mahapurusha Yoga, meaning it's in a sign, Taurus, that it naturally rules. Venus in its own sign in the spouse house looks good on paper. And obviously it had really great rewards for her in terms of beauty, wealth, yada, yada, yada. But it's in the nakshatra of Kritika. Kritika is a nakshatra that spans the end of Aries and the beginning of Taurus. So it merges the two signs. It's ruled by the sun. So there's a big solar plexus energy here. And Kritika is kind of known to be critical. It is all about, it's symbolized by the razor, and it's literally here to cut and purify what it finds as unimportant, unnecessary, or toxic. This is going to give her or her spouse karma around purifying the environment. So Taurus is a sign of, it's an earth sign, it's a grounded sign, but it's focused on resources, assets, material comforts. So yes, she had those things, but there was a critical element to her relationship. So, and I'm going to pull up King Charles's chart to show you how we look to see if he was a good match for her in terms of meeting those Venusian requirements that her soul longed for. Her sun, so her ego self, her vitality, what she is supposed to sacrifice and give this life, is in the 8th house. This is a very intense house. It's a moksha house. It's a dashtana house, a suffering house. It forces transformation, death, rebirth. It's the house of hidden occult knowledge, things that we have to investigate to know, you know, so occult sciences, astrology, tarot, right? Things that you have to do investigative work. It can be just deep sciences, things of this nature. But it's also the house of the spouse's money. It's the house of your in-laws. But it's a house of deep transformation, and it's a house that when you see, it's a house that reveals what you don't want others to see. So it's a house where you can see someone's trauma from and what they try to hide from the world. She has Mercury here in retrograde in its own sign of Gemini, in Ardra, conjunct to the sun in Ardra in Gemini, in the 8th house. This is deep. This is, Mercury is the planet of the cognitive mind, the intellectual mind, how you process information, how you communicate. It's your curiosity. It's neutral in gender. It's playfulness. It's youth. So it's in its own sign, but it's retrograde. Retrograde means the planet is going backwards, but it means that the energy of this planet is going inwards instead of outwards. So when she is processing things, she reviews everything before she speaks. What's interesting is that it's in Ardra. Ardra is ruled by Rahu, and the deity is Rudra, the storm. The people with Ardra placements are going to go through intense emotional storms to get to the truth. This means Mercury in Ardra is extremely intelligent. Okay, Gemini is extreme. Mercury in Gemini and Virgo it's in its own sign. It's extremely strong, but it's in retrograde. So it's kind of interesting to have Ardra, this big transformative emotional storm that's really sharp and cuts through. It's the storm to get through the truth. It's kind of like these people are going to go through very intense situations to kind of purify everything, but they're not afraid of it either. And there's a tendency to kind of create storms to get to the truth. So it's interesting to me that it's retrograde, because it means that she's almost like she's internalizing and reviewing the storm. So it's giving it a little bit less of a sting. And it kind of goes along with her Venus being Mahapurusha Yoga, right? She speaks so eloquently and thoughtfully. But there's a sharp piercingness to, she wasn't here to fluff up things. When she does talk, she was eloquent and graceful like a princess, but she spoke the truth. Or, you know what I mean? It wasn't like fluffy. She never had a fluffy interview. She talked about really intense emotional things. Her sun, right, her sense of self, also, when the sun is in the 8th house, I find that people feel like they're hiding themselves from the world a little bit, or just like burdened by trauma or other people's secrets or shame. The sun is also the father. A lot of times this shows a sense of feeling like the father has fallen in some way. And so if we look at her, the 9th house is also the father. And so it's in Cancer, showing that she saw her father as Cancerian, emotionally nourishing, safe space. The ruler of Cancer is the moon. The moon is here in her 4th house, so he's so close to her heart. She feels so emotionally a part of him, but it's there with K2. And the sun is in the 8th house in Ardra. There are emotional storms around her father that are creating growth and evolution for her. But there's also some sort of void or separation happening with Ketu being with the ruler here. So Princess Diana loved her father, but also felt very hurt. So he won custody of her and her siblings when her parents got divorced when she was really young. And she always felt like he was a pillar and her safe space. But apparently he got married and didn't tell his children, and she felt very betrayed, and their relationship got a little funky and estranged after that. I think she still felt very attached to him, but it wasn't the same. So that all checks out as well. Her Saturn and Jupiter in her third house. Remember I was talking about her communication, what she shared with the world, being very thoughtful. Also, the third house is your communication, your effort, and your willpower. Saturn with Jupiter conjunct in a sign isn't something you see very often. And when you see it, it's very powerful. Saturn and Jupiter are wisdom, but in very different ways. Saturn wants structure, boundaries. It's all about timing. So it wants you to endure. It wants you to be humble, selfless, responsible. But it's not just going to give you results. You have to work hard. It's heavy karma planet. Jupiter is also a planet of wisdom, the guru planet, but it wants to expand. It doesn't really care about timing. It's your belief systems. It's your moral code. It's your moral GPS. People in mundane astrology, Jupiter is debilitated in Cancer. But they say when it goes retrograde, which it is, in a debilitated sign, it's no longer debilitated. It acts exalted. When you really start reading charts and you see how things play out, first of all, debilitations, exaltations, good, bad, doesn't work. Everyone has a unique chart, and planets and placements are just different expressions. You will see so many famous people like CEOs, directors, leaders with Jupiter and Capricorn, which is debilitated. Why? Because Jupiter is wisdom, and it's in Capricorn, which is Saturn's structure and legacy. It's like they have found this very structured container to lead, and you will find it in charts very, very often. Retrograde will always bring the energy of a planet inward. So her Jupiter is not super externally expressed, it's inwardly expressed. Same thing with her Saturn, and they're conjunct in the third house. This is really interesting. Saturn being in its own sign could also undo the debilitation of Jupiter and Capricorn. But when you really break down Capricorn in Jyotish, the irony is Uttara Ashada is the first nakshatra in Capricorn. It's ruled by the sun. Jupiter and the sun do very well together. Jupiter in Shravana, the middle part of Capricorn, which her Jupiter is in, Shravana is ruled by the moon and is all about wisdom and listening. Jupiter does very well in Shravana. And then Dhanishta, the last nakshatra in Capricorn that spans Aquarius as well, is ruled by Mars, another planet that Jupiter does very well with. So just showing you why you can't just be like, oh, Jupiter is in Capricorn, it's debilitated. They suck. It's just not how it's going to play out. So it's interesting when they're conjunct because the energies are different. She probably felt this immense pressure around her words, and she felt very, very burdened by them. She knew that what she said carried a lot of weight, and she really probably tried to make sure what she was saying was wise, structured, and moral. Uttara Ashada is ruled by the universal gods, and they care so much about the universal laws of the universe. Shravana is all about listening to wisdom, and it's ruled by the moon, and there's this softness. So she has a lot of planetary support of someone who really thinks before they speak and tries to speak with a lot of wisdom and care. So I find that really interesting. So, I mean, we could keep going. I could show you how every little house of her chart and what it's influenced by, and we could spend a lot of time doing that. But I find it more interesting to look at, because there's just so much out about her already, her relationship and some transit timing. So remember, Venus is her spouse planet, and it's in the house of spouse. Remember, she has this whole purpose and dharma in Magha Leo with the lineage, with the throne. Okay? This chart I have pulled up to when she got married to Charles in 1981. Look at this. Venus was in Magha. Go back to her chart. Venus is her spouse planet. Charles is literally here to put her on the Magha throne. Look at that. Activating her 10th house stellium in Leo in Magha. Making this official. This is when her purpose lit up. I find it interesting that Mars, which is her Lagnesha, was in Ardra. The moon was in Ardra that day, and Mercury was in Purnarvasu, all on her 8th house of deep transformation and death and rebirth. Yeah. Saturn and Jupiter were in Virgo Hasta. Very interesting. So let's look at King Charles's chart. This is King Charles's chart here. So Venus was in Magha the day that they got married at 12 degrees 14 minutes. He is a Cancer ascendant. His 7th house of spouse is Capricorn. The ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. Where is Saturn in his chart? In Magha. And it's the ruler of his 7th house of spouse. They literally had Venus, the planet of relationships, marriage, activating both of their Magha placements, solidifying their royal karma together on the throne. Fascinating. Saturn and Jupiter were in Hasta, Virgo. That's where Prince Charles has his natal Venus. Saturn is heavy karma. Jupiter is more blessings. But again, right? She has Saturn and Jupiter conjunct in her natal chart. And when they got married, they were transiting in the same sign, in the same nakshatra, hitting his relationship planet. Fascinating. Very fascinating. Neptune was in Jyeshta, retrograde with Uranus, right on her ascendant. The illusions of her life were activated. Princess Diana is someone that's so illusionary, right? There's so many smoke screens about who she was, what happened to her. And the truth is so just hard to pin down. I find that fascinating. Remember how I said I wanted to check out if he met her Venusian needs? We want to see if he's ruled by any Venus nakshatras. No, he's not. His spouse planet, so the planet in the lowest degrees, is Jupiter in Mula nakshatra in Sagittarius in the 6th house of obstacles. Fascinating. Mula is all about uprooting anything rotten to get to the truth. So he was looking for a Jupiterian person, optimistic, wise, expansive. But Mula being there shows that it's not going to be happy-dappy. It's going to be uprooting. And it's in his house of obstacles and challenges. His Venus is actually debilitated here in Virgo with Neptune. I wouldn't say that's meeting her Venusian needs. Venus is tight with Neptune, showing that he has this, he wears kind of rose-colored glasses, and there's a lot of illusions in his relationships. He was already in love with Camilla when he married Diana, and when he talks about Camilla, it is totally rose-colored glasses. And there are tons of illusions, right, in his relationships with all of that. Venus in Virgo can be someone with the tendency to be a bit critical and perfectionisty. It's kind of funny that his Venus is in Virgo. Her Venus in her 7th house is Kritika, which I was saying could be very critical. I think she felt he was very critical of her. But is there any Venus coming in? He has 3 planets in Libra, which is ruled by Venus, including his sun, even though the sun is debilitated in Libra. It is his soul planet, though. It's the planet at the highest degree, 29 degrees, 16 minutes, Vishaka. So you can see where there's some sort of pull, and her soul could be attracted. But you can also see Ketu is there. You can see the issues where there was an unfulfillment feeling. So I hope you find that interesting. Now I've pulled up Princess Diana's death. She died in a car accident August 31st, 1997 in Paris, France with her boyfriend. Very, very sad. She was way too young. She was, they got into a car. Paparazzi was everywhere. Really hard to navigate through the paparazzi. The driver was intoxicated and he was on, I think, medication, and alcohol and prescription drugs don't go well together. So he was a bit compromised as a driver, plus the paparazzi. It was like made for disaster. So I haven't pulled up this chart of the day of the transits, okay, when she passed, and I have it set up so that it's the same ascendant or rising as Princess Diana. If you notice, I didn't talk about this, but Princess Diana, I'm back on her chart now. Her death planets, her Maraka planets, are going to be the 7th house ruler and planets inside, and the 2nd house here at Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. That means Jupiter and Venus are her death-inflicting planets. I wanted to bring this up because Jupiter is always seen as a benefic. Jupiter returns are always seen as benefic. But that's just not the case for everyone. Someone could receive blessings from Saturn. It depends on the person and their chart. So this is how it actually works versus the kind of mundane astrology and basic kind of guidelines that they give us. So she has natally Jupiter retrograde Shravana, Capricorn in her 3rd house, and she has Saturn retrograde Capricorn, Uttara Ashada, okay, 4 degrees. On the day she died, she was in a Jupiter return. Jupiter was also retrograde, just like her natal Jupiter is retrograde in Shravana. And Uranus was transiting in Shravana at 11 degrees. Her natal Jupiter here is 11 degrees. Uranus is the planet of shock, of sudden accidents. It is right on her Jupiter, her death planet. Sudden shock, sudden accident. In her 3rd house of travel, short distance travel, she was driving, she was in a car ride. Also, in 1997, the time period that she was in, her dashas, let's go here. She was in her Jupiter Rahu period. Jupiter, she was in her Jupiter return. That means Jupiter was transiting her natal Jupiter. She was in her Jupiter Mahadasha time period, and Rahu was the sub period. Rahu is her soul planet in Magha in her 10th house of public reputation. It activated her vitality, her willpower. It was a return, like it was literally, you just can't make this up, written in the sky. Neptune was also involved. Neptune was there. Neptune can represent in transits alcohol, illusions, drugs, mysticism. I keep seeing Neptune in deaths, in transits, where we still don't know the truth, or there was something so sus about it. We still don't really know what happened to Princess Diana. But the driver, and this was in the 3rd house of short distance travel, 3rd house was also, it's interesting to me because the paparazzi were so involved in this accident. The 3rd house is paparazzi, what you see on TV, communication, marketing. It can be TV, film. So, and Neptune also represents that. Mars was transiting almost to the degree her natal Neptune in her 12th house of endings, of death. Mars is her Lagnesha. She's ruled by Mars. Neptune, and Mars went right over her natal Neptune. She was also in her nodal return, not to the degree, but Rahu was transiting Leo and Ketu was transiting Aquarius. What I find super interesting is Ketu was at 25 degrees and 54 minutes of Purva Bhadrapada. Back to her chart, her Aruda Lagna is at 25 degrees. Purva Bhadrapada. Aruda Lagna is who we think she is, what the other people see. And it's like K2 was severing that. I just find that really interesting. The person that we thought she was is gone. And what's interesting to me about that is when she died, people really started investigating what was really going on in her life and what she was really going through. So I hope you find that all interesting. We could sit here and look at her chart all day. Let me know what you all think in the comments. I love having requests and doing things that you find interesting. So thanks for watching, and check out my website to have a reading with me on your birth chart.